presentation of TFNN. The Tom O'Brien Show is produced every business day. Tom takes your phone calls toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-873-7618.
Let's go to Ben in San Jose. Ben, what's going on, brother?
Hey, Tom. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Yourself?
I just wanted to thank you and your team and everything. I've been using your technique with the 10-minute charts, watching the VIX, and just making a fortune here on the futures.
Isn't it interesting? That's awesome, man.
It's wonderful. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it.
Okay, man. Have a great one. Have a safe one.
Now, Tom O'Brien.
Good afternoon, everybody, and we got a turnaround Wednesday today in the markets. You got positive prices. We have ADP private payrolls, jobs getting added again after a decline in September. ADP, 42,000 jobs get added in October. We got that number at 8:30 a.m. this morning. And markets, I'm zooming in on 8:30, and there it is. You can see we take off, we pull back, you test where we were at 8:30, and it's been positive territory since then. We've been chopping around for about the last 2.5 hours. You talk about a tight trading range, right? Right there. Talking about like 2 to 3 points almost. For most of that trading session, the last 2.5 hours, S&P's up by 0.7% or 50 points in the green at 68.51. As I mentioned on the update there, we are at basically where we were yesterday morning. You back this up again, and that's also the lows of Friday, the lows of Thursday, okay, the lows of Monday, and the highs of Tuesday. 68.50. Look at this area on this S&P, folks. So, yeah, if you were looking for an area that this market could bounce to and potentially pull back from, that would be it. You back it up even a little further than that, and that's the gap from where you were on the weekend, October 23rd, to higher price from there. You pull back and test that area basically on last Thursday, and that's where we are right now. That's an hour chart we're looking at on the S&P. NASDAQ 100, similar action, right? You look at where we were the lows of Thursday to where we are right now, and the open yesterday. But right now you got the NASDAQ up by 1.1%. Dow, right back to where we were in that acceleration on last Thursday as well. Dow up 0.7%. And how about the Russell? 1.9% for the Russell. A little bit of a different story on that chart. You're breaking out of that downtrend channel that we've been in for the better part of this week in the Russell. You're up by 1.9%. How's that one for yields? Just pulling up the 10-year right now. We got the 10-year down by 15 ticks, 112.10. 4.16, just like that, 4.16 on the 10-year. Jump over the dollar right now, 100.18. And, you know, you get a strong jobs number this morning. Considering what Chairman Powell said following that October meeting, we start getting decent jobs numbers. They're going to be much less worried about employment, and they're going to begin at least acknowledging inflation that's near 3%. And that's why you see rates drift to higher territory. And yeah, AMD, you talk about a comeback, man. You drive lower in their numbers, the market says, no, we're going higher, up by 3% right now. Micron sales, look at that one. Trading up 9.5%, up $21 from Micron. And you jump around to some of the stories of the day in the Supreme Court. So I listened to some of these oral arguments, and it's just so interesting, number one, to hear great legal scholar minds, no matter what, and great points on both sides of this debate, okay? They seem pretty skeptical. And I made one comment in the den when I was listening to it about Gorsuch, and I said, giving him the business. Mr. Sauer, is that how you pronounce it? And boy, he did a great job as well in terms of the Solicitor General for this administration. Great arguments. You can tell the intelligence in the room and the arguments that are getting made. But yeah, he seemed pretty skeptical in terms of the separations of powers, almost chuckling at a couple points of saying that the handoff to the president of this ability, right, The Constitution gives tariff power to Congress, not the president. If the court were to accept that argument, the Congress can delegate that power, okay, which is in the IEPA, then what could they delegate? They just delegate anything? Because that's what he was saying. It was a listening to the way he was hitting him. And what happens is so you had the administration representing 40 minutes. Their case went first, okay? And then you had the other side, the people, the small businesses, going against the plaintiffs, right? Going against the tariffs, presented second. They both took questions, and they did seem skeptical, okay? But it's not clear one way or the other, because the administration, the Solicitor General, kicked off their case. So you got to hear the Supreme Court justices pressing the administration and their case, and that's where you heard Gorsuch saying, come on, you're telling me that they could just hand off anything in theory? What would prevent them from just abdicating all responsibility to regulate foreign commerce? And then you got the plaintiff side. And on that side of things, okay, there were great points to be made on that side as well. In terms of, one in here, and as they pointed, okay, you had Gorsuch, and that's where this article here is linking to this part where he really was talking about the separations of power. You had John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett, questions that suggested they had deep reservations about that policy, okay? But as they put it, the justices also made great points and were skeptical of the other side of the challenge, right? Talking about that they do have the ability to potentially have embargoes so you can stop all goods from coming in, right? The authority to block all foreign imports entirely, but not to tax those same goods. The tax deal is a big deal. I feel like they're going to go against it. And listen, I am not a Supreme Court scholar, okay? It was amazing to listen to. It's going to be a real part of history, either way, how they decide. It was a 2.5-hour meeting. And the case that the Trump attorney was making, the Solicitor General, not the Trump attorney, right? It's our attorney, in theory. It's the administration's, but it's the Solicitor General who's arguing this case in front of the Supreme Court for the administration, is that these tariffs were not put in place to raise taxes, that they were put in place as a tool of the president, and that they are not revenue-raising tariffs in any manner, and so they are a tool of the president for foreign negotiations. They're going to raise $4 trillion. $4 trillion. That's the tough part about where they fall. And yeah, where do they go from here? They acknowledge it's going to be a mess to unwind it. The plaintiff attorney had talked about that one of the things they could do is just make them forward going, so there'd have to be no refunds in there. But it seems like they were a little skeptical. And taxes have always been a big one. Taxes without representation, the Congress having the power of purse, and it seemed like that's the side that they were airing. So what does that mean, right? Well, we're going to get to see it play out, and it's going to be weeks or really months before that decision comes out. But you're seeing some of the movement. And as I'm watching the move in whether it's yields, whether it's the dollar, I don't think it's playing in today, but you better believe it's going to. Money is going to start moving on that oral argument. We're coming back, folks. Markets in the green.
If you spend any time online researching trading techniques on how to begin your trading journey, you've no doubt come across many folks who push Forex trading as a way to make big money quickly. Unfortunately, there are equally as many stories of these so-called Forex professionals just looking to make a quick buck off aspiring traders without actually teaching the ins and outs of the Forex market. This is what sets Teddy Keckstack's The Tiger Forex Report off the riffraff. Every Monday, former Chicago Mercantile Exchange member and author Teddy Keckstack releases his Tiger Forex Report newsletter, where he dives into the complex world of Forex and takes time to actually teach you his methods that have made him so successful in the fast-paced and rewarding world of Forex trading. Furthermore, all subscribers receive access to archived live streams of Teddy's, where he provides university-level education to help you in Forex trading. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Forex awaits.
The reality is that navigating financial markets can be risky. Markets can be chaotic and difficult to understand. Having the latest market advice can help you turn this chaos into a key for creating winning trades. At TFNN, we understand that it can be hard to find reliable market news. That's why each of our market experts offers their very own market newsletter, a must-have tool for every trader out there striving to find an edge in today's markets. TFNN newsletters cover every aspect of the markets so you can analyze the market before you trade. Try any of our great newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Just visit the Newsletters tab on the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
Are you ready to take charge of your financial future? TFNN is your gateway to the world of trading and investing. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, TFNN empowers traders and investors of all skill levels with top-notch investing systems, strategies, and techniques. It's time to protect and grow your money with insight you can trust. Join us live Monday through Friday during market hours for exclusive content that moves with the markets. At TFNN, we bring the trading floor to you. Our seasoned hosts are here to answer your calls and questions live on the air. Check out the Tiger's Den for just $1 and follow us on YouTube and become part of our vibrant community. And remember, at TFNN, we're so confident in the value we provide that we offer a 30-day money-back guarantee on all new premium newsletter subscriptions and services. You have absolutely nothing to risk, so why wait? Tune in live to Tiger TV and transform your trading journey, because when you know better, you invest better. Join us and experience the difference today. TFNN, educating investors.
Welcome back, folks, and jump back to the Supreme Court, because I'm looking at this from a market perspective. The most amazing thing is sometimes you go into an event, right? And after that event, the market will move in a manner where you can say to yourself, if you had told me the results of the event, I don't think I could have told you how the market was going to interpret it afterwards, right? Like bad news being good news, for instance, in just the most mundane sense, the plainest sense, right? Oh, if you told me that the numbers are going to be so horrible, I would have bet on bad things to happen, but it's bad news equals good news, and we're almost there right now. As in, we're almost there in terms of bad news being good news if the market's looking for cuts. Either way, this is about as complicated as it gets because there's many different variables in here. One of the remedies that they could have is that none of those tariffs that have been taken in so far are refunded. They can do anything they want, okay? Excuse me. They can say that the president has that ability, okay? These are foreign-facing instruments of the president. And that's what makes it so tough. They say, what if we were at war with a country and you wanted to use those tariffs? Well, would you really be worried about the type of commerce that you're doing with that country? If you're at war, wouldn't you just not be buying their goods, period? I don't know. But they're asking those questions, which are right. Emergencies, real or imagined. They made many aspects saying once you hand off that power, right, getting the power back within Congress, the point was being made is if Congress is handing off a power, they can never get it back because any president's going to take power and you need a supermajority to override a veto to take power away from the president. And there were some conservative justices making the point that in reality, once Congress delegates that power to the president, it's almost impossible for the president to give it back because you then need a supermajority. So it's less of a burden to give it to the president because they'll always approve it, but then they will always veto any way to take it back. So you need a supermajority to do that. Alito, and I say that as in usually in the very conservative portion of the court, started talking about the other varieties of statutes that the president could use as a more clear-cut legal basis for many of the tariffs being challenged in the case. The fact of them being foreign-facing, though, and yeah, they don't want to limit the president, rightfully so, when you're talking about regulating commerce with countries that are foes. And yeah, in certain degrees, we're seeing the battle take place with rare earths right now. It goes on both sides of it, right? in my opinion, you look at the battle with China. You look at how everything is in play when it comes to rare earths, which are crucial for our future success. And then we're using tariffs to regulate commerce as an offset to China controlling the exports of their rare earths. Okay, that seems like something that should be within the president's abilities. Then you go to the Canada ad, and the president gets upset because Canada runs an ad in the World Series, and he slaps a 10% unilateral tariff on every single good coming into America. Those are taxes, folks. And then the president goes out there and argues that they are necessary as a revenue-raising mechanism to pay off our debt. And then you have the Solicitor General go in front of the Supreme Court and make the obvious case that these are not about revenue, because he understands if the president is installing tariffs as a way to raise revenue, that is not within his power, because Congress has the power to tax. And in reality, that's all the president talks about. It's not all, but it's a lot. We've all heard it, right? And that's one of the reasons he says that you can't overturn it, because we're putting all this money in and raising all this revenue, and it's so great, and we've raised so much revenue, in fact, that if you unwind it, we're going to be destroyed. And then the Solicitor General comes in and he says the revenue is regardless. It's just an afterthought of the policies that we're using for the president. It's a wild one, but they seem pretty skeptical of the power of the purse. They really did. Okay, so start wrapping your brain around what happens if that one gets turned down. Because I think there's a very real chance that one gets turned down. I don't know how they unwind it. They don't know how they unwind it either. But just the fact that they were discussing the unwinding nature of it, if they didn't think they needed to unwind it, they wouldn't have cared. That's how it works. Okay, they're not going to go deep into depth about what a mess it is. These are the Supreme Court justices' words. What a mess it was. They're not going to go into that. And listen, I haven't done the deep dive in my own head yet to make a real case of where this market goes if the Supreme Court comes out tomorrow and says, guess what, president does have that power, it doesn't work. Because, number one, you don't know if that money is going to get refunded, okay? Number two, if that money does get refunded, the taxes that have been paid, you call them tariffs if you want, the taxes that have been paid by the importers, okay, for those goods, it's going to take a very long time for that money to get returned. Most of the time, okay, when a tax got taken off, it would be a boost to the economy. The president's going to argue that if those tariffs are taken off, it's going to ruin America. He's used those tools to his advantage. So the number of variables in play here, that number one, are importers going to get all that money back that they paid in tariffs? Because if they do, it's a boost to the economy. Okay, market will like that. Okay, that's going to come from the Treasury. That's going to be a hurt for our debt. Market's not going to like that, right? Yields, the cost of our debt. Okay, because as much as the Solicitor General argues that they're not raising taxes, you better believe that the bond market knows that we have a problem with debt. And those tariffs at least are one avenue that is raising revenue, even if they're hurting the economy as a tax, which they are, a tax, okay? There's no such thing as a tax that's going to benefit the economy when it's coming out and it's getting used to pay off the debt. They're the same thing. They're a different word. It's a tax on imports. They're foreign-facing. So you're going to have all that in play. And it's a very real deal, though. And the fact they were talking about unwinding it, and Gorsuch was, man, he was up front. And Coney Barrett, she was there as well. Kavanaugh as well. And they all expressed concerns on both sides, though. It's going to be a real close one. The fact they're foreign-facing is a big problem for the plaintiffs in that case. But in hearing that questioning, I found myself, and it could just be hope, okay, because I feel like I don't want any president, okay? I don't, folks. And we all have personal preferences, all right? And I have no problem with what the president doing in this instance. Congress should be doing it, okay? If this is so great, Congress should be doing it. The Republicans control all the chambers of the government. And yes, you need 60 votes. Okay, I get it. But that is the mechanism of government. That is how it works. And eventually there's going to be a president in office that you cannot stand. And if they can at any point in any whim slap any tariff they want on any country for any reason because they deem it an emergency and you can't question whether it's an emergency, the implications are tough there. And that's where I don't know how that, taxation has always been one that's been a big one for America without representation. Power of the purse laying with Congress has always been one that's been installed, and it is a slippery slope. And I saw those justices talking about it. And the fact when they started talking about so much how they're going to unwind it, folks, okay, talking about what a mess it would be, and even having the plaintiff attorney starting talking about what mechanisms they could use to unwind it because of the worry from the justices, rightfully so. They wouldn't have been worried about that if they were very clear in their own thoughts that this is a power the president had, because why waste time on that avenue if that's where you think you are? They were worried about it. But we're coming right back, folks.
Many trading newsletters attempt to focus on a narrow set of equities or commodities. While this works for some, it oftentimes misses many opportunities that possess huge gain potential. But how is an independent trader supposed to scan the entire market looking for these hidden opportunities? One simple answer: the opening call newsletter. Basil Chapman, developer of the Chapman Wave trading methodology, has been trading the markets for longer than most trading influencers have been alive. And over that time, he has honed his methodology in order to accurately call movements in a wide range of equities, from semiconductors to uranium to key indices and so much more. Basil is old school, taking the time to educate the trader while also giving his insights into key indices, selective stocks, and more. Opening call subscribers also receive access to dozens of educational live streams that can be accessed at any time for your edification. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So ignore the pop trading influencers and start learning time-tested technical analysis.
Steve Rhodes started his trading career as a student almost 20 years ago, and the student has now become the master. Steve won the prestigious Timer of the Year award in 2018 and barely missed that mark again in 2019, finishing at number 2 for the year. An amazing accomplishment. Steve Rhodes is committed to sharing his techniques and knowledge with anyone who wants to learn, and he shares his vast amount of trading knowledge every day in his Mastering Probability newsletter. Steve's award-winning newsletter, Mastering Probability, is delivered every trading day with updates throughout the afternoon. Sign up for Steve's market newsletter, Mastering Probability, and you'll receive access to 7 of Steve's educational webinars absolutely free. At TFNN, all our newsletters come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Visit TFNN.com and try Mastering Probability 30 days risk-free today. TFNN, educating investors.
Sharpening your skills as an investor is like getting better at playing a musical instrument. You have to practice, sure, but you also need excellent instruction from experts. At TFNN, you'll get advice and guidance from the authority in technical market analysis. And it's not just dry, tedious text either. TFNN airs live financial content streamed live on TFNN.com and TFNN's YouTube channel with Tiger TV, live every market day from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern, for free. Each host is an experienced trader and gives their take on the market while taking calls and questions live from around the world. From the moment the market opens until the closing bell sounds, Tiger TV has 8 different shows with expert hosts to help you make the right moves with your money. Watch online at TFNN.com or on TFNN's YouTube channel and become the investor you were born to be. TFNN, educating investors.
This portion of the Tom O'Brien Show is brought to you by Direxion's daily leveraged and inverse ETFs. Whether you're a bull or a bear, you choose the direction. Visit Direxion.com. Investing in the funds involves significant risk and should only be utilized by investors who understand the impact of leverage and actively monitor their portfolio. They are not designed to track the underlying index or security for more than a day. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risk, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at Direxion.com. Read carefully. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Welcome back, folks. We got the dollar just above 100. S&P's up by 43 points right now. NASDAQ 100, you're up by about 1%, up 249 points. And, you know, the market really didn't react too much, in my opinion, to the Supreme Court. There was no big movement, okay? The general gist was higher territory. Now, we have higher territory right now because the market is holding up relatively well in terms of where we are with the jobs and where we are with earnings to a degree. But what's remarkable is, okay, you look at this acceleration. It started at 9:45, folks. They didn't start making arguments until at least 10 o'clock about, and there was no big moves. This was a move right on the open, okay? And so maybe it was a move on that jobs number that we got at 8:30 in terms of more jobs than the market was thinking. You have yields pulling back as well. But the betting markets, okay, they were reacting to the same thing. Now, it's close, folks, okay? It is. It's 70-30, right, which is almost 65-35, which is almost 2-1. And a 2-1, when you factor in some variance into everything going on there, it's going to be close. But, yeah, the market is betting that they're going to get overturned. So get ready for it, because even if it's not coming, you better be prepared for what you're going to do if the news hits that, guess what? Supreme Court rules the tariffs. They're unconstitutional. They don't exist, and he has to return all the money. It's a tax. And that is what's so hard for this Supreme Court. I heard it come out in the oral arguments. It is a tax, okay, and they understand it. Now, it's a foreign-facing tax. But, yeah, there's the betting markets, okay? You're talking about a move. 28% chance that they rule in favor of Trump. If you think you heard something differently and you think the market's wrong, pull up those prediction markets and put some cash on there and keep it in check and only risk what you can lose. That's your disclaimer. But that should be the case in any trade you're making, folks, because there's good arguments to be made on both sides. And just listening, it was great legal scholar minds, man. And the Solicitor General, man, guy seemed like a great lawyer, to put it. Great lawyer. Tough case to argue, and I don't agree with it, but he seemed like a great lawyer, the case he was making. UPS, whew, man. So this plane that crashed, an MD-11, and this is a sad deal, okay? You got many people dead, and this plane was just in service for almost 6 weeks for a fuel, let me get it right, fuel tank repair. And it was grounded from September 3rd to October 18th. It's been in the air for 34 years old. It needed a critical repair. It was out of rotation for 6 weeks. And we don't know what happened yet, but boy, some of the videos that are out there, folks, are pretty remarkable. And it had a full tank of gas, it appeared. You're talking about something like 46,000 gallons or something like that, they think was in there. And, you know, there's a couple shots out there. I don't know if I was just Googling this one, but there's a couple shots out here. Okay, what I found saying, there was one truck in particular that had its cam on. Yeah, that's not even as good as they usually come. Yeah, this is the one right here. Is this even playing? There it is. Let me pause that. This poor plane. Look at this plane, man. Okay? And this guy sitting in his truck right in front of it all. And, you know, what's remarkable is, look at this guy. He's got 3 different cameras. These trucks have multiple cameras running, and I would too, and what happens on the road. Oh, boy, that's a sad deal, and they'll be digging into this plane, but very sad when you think that it was sitting there getting worked on for 6 weeks. And they fly these, so UPS and FedEx fly dozens of these. This is going to be a problem that they're going to have to deal with now. That's why, you know, from a market perspective, okay, the cargo companies, can you imagine flying one of these planes for one of these airlines right now? The cargo companies have been extending the lives of older jets even as they slowly retire their MD-11s and upgrade to newer, more efficient cargo jets. This plane was made in 1991 by McDonnell Douglas. That's now owned by Boeing. Last thing they want to hear. They bought the jet and converted it into a cargo plane almost 20 years ago. This plane, second worst safety record of any commercial aircraft still in service. Right? This is a problem. It should be. This is real lives, man, you know, and it's a bummer that these companies that are just printing money are using planes that are old, and even when they service them for 6 weeks, and we'll find out, all right? I know it's all speculation. I don't know what's going on. But, yeah, you know, put yourself in the position that you're in one of these planes today. Not what you want to be, man. Okay, average age of the aircraft fleet, the MD-11, look how old they all are, right? FedEx, their average aircraft is only 20 years old. They got all these MD-11s that are 30 years old. UPS, same deal. DHL, they don't have them. The average UPS cargo jet's only 22 years old, and the MD is 31 years old. So they retired 2 in the second quarter, 1 this year. FedEx has retired 20 of these planes over the last 3 years. My guess is they're going to have to step that up, and they should, if this is what they're dealing with. And we'll find out what the cause was, okay? But speaks for itself. That's a tragedy, man. And it seems like wasn't avoidable, but boy, you look at those statistics and you say, yeah, that's a much higher risk probably than many other planes. UPS, positive after that news. Can't shake it off, man. How about it? Look at FedEx, up 2% with this market right now. So, all right, well, there's a move for you on the tariffs, okay? You want to talk about a market move? Listen, this market's placing bets right now, and you better start thinking about placing bets if you're going to be placing bets. Because that's a huge rise during the arguments, period. End of sentence, okay? And you better believe that if FedEx doesn't have to deal with that, it will help them. Because just the logistical nature, right? And UPS caught a bid at that same time, man. Yeah, it was strong words. And the power of the purse, it was something that was always instilled. And the foreign-facing nature of things does matter. But, boy, those stocks are talking. The prediction markets are talking. Yeah. And like they said, there's other tariffs that they can use besides that tariff. And maybe not. So there's other mechanisms that are in play. And hey, we're going to find out. We're going to find out in a couple months. And at some point, it's just going to hit the press, folks. And we'll find out. You know, it's not baked in either way. 30%, still 30%. Hits a lot more than people expect. All right, there's the line, and we're giving it up a bit. You're just off by 7 from that price point. A little bit of negative action coming into the closing bell. We got about 22 minutes left to go in trading. NASDAQ 100 up by 0.9%. Chip stocks in focus yet again. Ooh, look at this. All right, what do we got here? Some of the reason we're selling off is we got some selling in NVIDIA going on right now. NVIDIA, 198.60. Almost at the lows of this morning for NVIDIA. Not for Micron, though. Quite a day for Micron. Up by 10%. You talk about it, man. All right, folks, stay tuned. S&P's up by 44, NASDAQ up by 244. Coming right back.
If you're looking for potential trading setups in the stock market, then Rocket Equities and Options Report is a newsletter you should try. Tommy O'Brien delivers options and equity trades when the markets present them, using a combination of fundamentals and technicals. Sign up for Rocket Equities and Options Report today with a 30-day money-back guarantee so you have nothing to risk. For all the details and to start your subscription today, visit the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors. For traders who crave risk, Direxion's daily leveraged and inverse ETFs provide opportunities to magnify short-term perspectives with up to 3 times a daily leverage, utilize bull and bear funds for both sides of the trade, and trade through rapidly changing markets. These are highly leveraged ETFs with daily resetting designed for short-term trading, not long-term investing. Whether you're a bull or a bear, you choose the Direxion. For up-to-date pricing and performance, go to Direxion.com. Investing in the funds involves significant risk and should only be utilized by investors who understand the impact of leverage and actively monitor their portfolio. They are not designed to track the underlying index or security for more than a day. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risk, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at Direxion.com. Read carefully. Distributor Foresight Fund Services, LLC.
The reality is that navigating financial markets can be risky. Markets can be chaotic and difficult to understand. Having the latest market advice can help you turn this chaos into a key for creating winning trades. At TFNN, we understand that it can be hard to find reliable market news. That's why each of our market experts offers their very own market newsletter, a must-have tool for every trader out there striving to find an edge in today's markets. TFNN newsletters cover every aspect of the markets so you can analyze the market before you trade. Try any of our great newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Just visit the Newsletters tab on the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
TFNN has launched the Tiger's Den. Hosted at Discord, TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. The Tiger's Den, available to all tigers and tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. Sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders. Just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
This program is brought to you by Vista Gold, traded on the NYSE American and TSX under the symbol VGZ.
Tom O'Brien.
Welcome back, folks. You talk a little bit of tech stocks. How about Apple and Google? Listen, this deal seems cheap for Apple. They're going to spend they're going to pay Google roughly $1 billion a year for Siri AI model. The amount of money these companies are putting into CapEx, $1 billion a year right now. Now, they're still developing their own model, okay? Apple intends to use the Google model as an interim solution until its own models are powerful enough, and is working on a 1 trillion parameter cloud-based model that it hopes to have ready for consumer applications as early as next year. So it's an interim deal, $1 billion a year, and this deal that they're paying for is a 1.2 trillion parameter AI model developed by Google that will help run its long-promised overhaul of Siri voice assistant. These parameters, okay, not perimeter, what did I say? Parameters, right? 1.2 trillion parameter, our AI model. They're finalizing the agreement. In getting into this, okay, the current model they use is at 200 million or billion parameters, or million. Let me get the number. They have it in here. Here it is, yeah. The custom Gemini system represents a major advance from the 150 billion parameter model used today for Apple Intelligence. So Apple currently uses 150 billion parameters, but guess what? 150 billion parameters, that's nothing, folks. Yeah, that's nothing, right? The deal is 1.2 trillion. Hey, that's the deal, and that's what they're going for, and it's going to pay them $1 billion, and they're trying to build their own model that has 1 trillion parameters themselves, but that's not going well. And Google, Gemini, yeah, that's going to be, I mean, by the time they get to 1 trillion, what's Google going to have? That's the problem there, but guess what? I think investors and Apple probably happy right now that they're just spending money to pay Google. The real risk there is that Google is going to give them the service, and then Apple's building their own service in the meantime to compete with Google's service, right? Excuse me. So the model's going to run on Apple's own private cloud compute servers, ensuring the user data remains walled off from Google's infrastructure. And they've already allocated AI server hardware to help power the model. This is Apple. And they're going to treat Google as a behind-the-scenes technology supplier. So it's not going to be promoted publicly. Google's not going to be talked about. This is going to be an Apple deal, just in the same way it is right now. When you use their search button, you're using Google. They don't promote that in a huge way, but they do make Google the default search engine. Okay, they don't promote it. But this is not going to be promoted publicly in any way. Apple's going to treat Google as a behind-the-scenes technology supplier. It's not going to be a promoted public partnership, which is different from the Safari browser deal. Now, they looked at other models here, which is the most interesting part of this. They looked at Anthropic. Let me get what they said exactly, because here it goes. After testing Gemini, OpenAI's ChatGPT and Anthropic's Claude. They zeroed in on Google, so they got to test them all, and Google won it out. ChatGPT had a fair shot, OpenAI, and then Anthropic as well. And Google wins it out, and you're talking about $1 billion a year. And Apple says that they're hoping that their model is ready by next year, but we've seen time and time again that they are not competing right now where they want to be. And they say they don't want to use them as a long-term solution. Management intends to keep developing new AI technology and hopes to eventually replace Gemini with an in-house solution. I mean, Apple probably realizes that if they're going to be a technology company to the degree of $4 trillion, that they probably need to have their own AI in-house model that's running, as opposed to just relying off Gemini. So what if Google launches an AI device that takes apart the iPhone? And then they say, you know what, Apple? You don't get our deal at all. Your $1 billion, it's worthless to us. We're going to put you out of business because we got a phone. That's what's at play here. Apple believes it can reach a similar quality level as the custom Gemini offering, but Google continues to enhance it, and catching up won't be easy. As I stated, Apple's got a problem here, but they've solved it in the short term. $1 billion. That is cheap. The only problem is that they don't want to rely on them, which is why they constantly have to tell Google that they're on the verge of creating their own. Otherwise, Google just may have too much power at some point to cut them off and they'd be stranded. All right, you talk a little bit of real estate. How about the Bentley Residences? 61-story tower, $630 million construction loan. Bentley Motors branded condo tower, Sunny Isles Beach, Florida. 200 condos starting at $5.8 million. That thing looks like it's straight out of Abu Dhabi, man. The UAE. The new tower, 61 stories, the Bentley Residences, and the cheapest one is $5.8 million. I mean, what is that? So you got a $630 million build. And meanwhile, if the cheapest one's starting at about $6 million, that's $1.2 billion if they sell out the 200 condos. And they're going to be ready to open in 2028. Oh, no. So they have a loan. Excuse me. Yeah, it's going to be $1 billion build. Okay. Yeah. $630 million loan to get things financed. Financing for the building. Sold more than half the units. 2 of the penthouses. This K-shaped economy, man. Not a hard problem selling this type when you're talking about $5.8 million. Listen, I'm seeing it in St. Pete right now, folks. Okay, there's a beautiful area in particular, Palmetto Park. My dad built many houses in there, okay? I still own some myself in that area. And the area is just on fire. Now, certain other areas of St. Pete, okay, are slowly taking shape. But in that area in particular, the well-to-do areas, no matter where you are, they are doing extraordinarily well right now. They are. Because people who have cash, whether it's in the market, in real estate, if you have assets of almost any kind, the run-up has been extraordinary. Talking about whether it's, real estate or any stock market. All right, we got 11 minutes to go. I don't expect any rapid sell-off, but we do got some selling coming in with some volume right now. NASDAQ up by 0.8%, Dow up by 0.6%. And you got the S&Ps up by 0.6% as well. We take a look at gold. You know, where you could see the biggest reaction is potentially not even in the markets, but maybe just in the currency market and yields in particular. And we had some volatility, okay, but not really. During the whole oral arguments, you were just chopping around. The biggest movers out there were FedEx and UPS, the companies actually dealing with the logistics of bringing in packages, okay, and the tariffs that go with it. They got a huge boost today. But you better believe we might see some reactions depending on how that case plays out. And you got a dollar right now, down about 4 pennies, but we've seen a lot of dollar strength recently. Jump over to yields. The 10-year pushing about 4.15%. All right. Got a little sell-off going on here. Microsoft down 1.3% right now. Amazon just caught a little bit of a lift. Amazon up by 0.2% right now. Gemini, Google up 2.6%. How's that move for you? Google shares. We're coming right back, folks.
Many trading newsletters attempt to focus on a narrow set of equities or commodities. While this works for some, it oftentimes misses many opportunities that possess huge gain potential. But how is an independent trader supposed to scan the entire market looking for these hidden opportunities? One simple answer: the opening call newsletter. Basil Chapman, developer of the Chapman Wave trading methodology, has been trading the markets for longer than most trading influencers have been alive. And over that time, he has honed his methodology in order to accurately call movements in a wide range of equities, from semiconductors to uranium to key indices and so much more. Basil is old school, taking the time to educate the trader while also giving his insights into key indices, selective stocks, and more. Opening call subscribers also receive access to dozens of educational live streams that can be accessed at any time for your edification. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So ignore the pop trading influencers and start learning time-tested technical analysis.
In the world of trading, only a few names stand out like Larry Pesavento, a pro's pro with over 50 years of experience. Larry has seen it all. A former Chicago Mercantile Exchange member, Larry has authored 10 books and trained over 1,000 traders with his unmatched expertise. Introducing Fibonacci 24/7, Larry Pesavento's daily trading service that turns the complexity of markets into opportunities. Published every Sunday, receive a comprehensive report packed with detailed commentary, charts, and videos that illuminate the patterns shaping the markets, with updates throughout the week exclusively for subscribers. Whether through charts or videos, Larry's analysis is your roadmap to navigating the markets. You can sign up now at TFNN.com for just $97. And with all TFNN newsletters backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to risk. For all the details, visit TFNN.com. You'll find Fibonacci 24/7 right under the newsletters tab.
The reality is that navigating financial markets can be risky. Markets can be chaotic and difficult to understand. Having the latest market advice can help you turn this chaos into a key for creating winning trades. At TFNN, we understand that it can be hard to find reliable market news. That's why each of our market experts offers their very own market newsletter. A must-have tool for every trader out there striving to find an edge in today's markets. TFNN newsletters cover every aspect of the markets so you can analyze the market before you trade. Try any of our great newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Just visit the Newsletters tab on the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN. Educating investors.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV.
Welcome back, folks. Markets in the positive, but we're giving back some of those gains briefly. We got the NASDAQ 100 up by 205, S&P's up by 35, but a little bit of selling coming into the closing bell after a strong positive session. But yeah, we just gave up 100 points in the NASDAQ 100 since I've been on the air. That's a 1 minute. Let's put it on a 15 minute. It's only been the last 45 minutes or so. We had a high 25,880. We're at 25,783. But a strong day in the markets. We got a little selling though. We got about 5 minutes left to go. We check back in on yields. And, you know, this yield move had nothing to do. I say that, but you know what? Nah, it really didn't. Nothing to do with the oral arguments, okay? Very interesting to think about that the yield. I mean, imagine, we just had arguments for 2.5 hours about the ability for the president to tax foreign imports and take in trillions of dollars. The brief that the administration filed was that they could create $4 trillion of revenue. Okay, that was created. That was filed with the court. $4 trillion, and then the case gets made by the Solicitor General that revenues are an irrelevant part of this conversation because these are not revenue-raising tariffs, right? you better believe yields are going to have reaction on this case, okay? Maybe they just haven't made their bets just yet, but the dollar yields, it changes the dynamic, without a doubt. All right, we come into the close with a little bit of selling. NASDAQ up by 0.8%. And yeah, the big leaders out there. Micron up 10%. Broadcom up more than 2%. Apple shares are flat, and Google up 2.5%. All right, folks, thanks so much for tuning in, spending your afternoon with me right here at TFNN. Listen, have a great night. Have a safe night. Okay, go spend it. Have a great evening, everybody. Appreciate you being here. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Thanks, folks.